Hello, hello, and welcome back to Closings and Cuddles. My name is Karen Barrios, and today I'm with my co-host, Ray Barrios.
What's up, everybody?
We're so excited because today we're going to be talking about...
Today we're talking about a market update.
Yes!
We haven't done it in a while, and we felt like it was important.
Yeah, we're closing a lot of homes, and we thought it would be important for us to talk a little bit about the two markets that we support clients in and how important it is for them to be informed as to what's happening in the market and what the medium price, is, how long properties are in the market. If you're a seller, this is important because you want to understand and how quickly things are moving, the average days on market, what price points are kind of around that area that you want to, that you're selling or you own your home in. And, but it's also really good to know just for your own purposes. Like if you own a home and you want to if you want to refinance or if you want to pull, a line of credit, it's just always nice to talk about those things and know those things.
Yeah. So we'll start with the actual stats and then we'll give a couple projections at the end of personal, opinionative projections at the end of the podcast. But let's just start. Let's jump into it. Right now, we're going to be talking about our Pine Mountain market.
Yes.
So let's jump into some of the stats. What is looking interesting to you? What's important to sellers? What's important to buyers? Go ahead and lay the way of the land for us.
Yes. So this week, the median list price for Pine Mountain Club is $424, $429. Sorry, $424,499.
So for round to get rid of the last numbers, what is it?
$425,000.
$425,000.
Yep.
Okay. Did that go up? I think that went up.
Yeah. With the market action index hovering around 28, this is less than last month's market action index of 29. Inventory has decreased to 38. And that essentially means that the market index has been trending lower than several weeks, and while prices have remained relatively stable.
Okay.
If inventory continues to grow relative to demand, however, it is likely that we will see a downward pressure on pricing. So right now we are, according to the market index, and what is a market index? How the market's doing, essentially comparing rate of sales versus inventory. That's how you determine the market index.
Cool.
We're at a 28. 28 is slight buyer's advantage. And once you get over 30, then it's a buyer's market, seller's market. So it's, again, very unique situation in Pine Mountain Club. And but for the most part, we are seeing a lot of buyers really calling the shots, unless the property is really well priced or under that market value where it's getting more momentum. But a lot of properties are sitting a little bit longer on the market.
Cool. So according to that, we're technically in a buyer's market.
Slight buyer's advantage.
Oh, it hasn't been like that in ages. This is probably the first time.
Slight buyer's advantage. And what that means is that the medium list price is around $425,000. The medium price of new listings is around $550,000. So more properties have been listed lately that are over that $425,000.
Okay.
And the current average per square foot is $258.
Okay.
And average days on market are about 105, which is actually pretty spot on because most of the time when I'm speaking to my sellers, I'm letting them know that right now you're anywhere between 75 to 95 days. 75 if we have a really great aggressive strategy, but it's more common than not. It's going to be closer to that 95. So 105 sounds around the right number. Medium days on the market, 67. I know some properties, like I said, have been closing a little bit lower, but closing a little bit sooner. But the reality is that most properties are going under contract in that sweet spot between the 75 days to the 95 days. So maybe that's where the 105.
So and then 2 to 3 months, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, you got to remember Pine Mountain Club is a secondary market. A lot of people are coming here to either buy a vacation home or to, look for something that kind of fits their needs for their family, for their own retreat and their own leisure time.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, that's not something to glaze over. The fact that one of our own tools that we use is saying that we're edging more towards the favor of the buyer. That's a pretty big deal because it's been the other way around for like the last 3 years. So this is like the first time where it's starting to trend towards the buyer's
Yeah, it's a slight
advantage.
buyer's advantage. But yeah, the market index, again, just to kind of go back and recap a little bit, what is a market index? This answers how's the market, right? A market index helps us determine, essentially it is comparing rate of sales, right? Versus inventory.
Yeah.
So how many sales are happening versus how much properties are on the market. So right now the sales index is a 28 and last month was a 29. So that tells you that we are trending closer to a buyer's market.
Yeah, it means there's fewer buyers than there are relative to the amount of houses that are in the market. That's what that means.
Well, it also means that the buyers are the ones that are also calling the shots a little bit when it comes to what goes under contract.
Yeah.
So they may be a little bit more pickier. There may be less buyers. We got to remember that the interests are still pretty high, right? They're steady on the sixes. So a lot of people are having a really hard time with comprehending, should I spend anywhere between, $3,000 for something that's closer to a 400, kind of a medium, to $4,000, $4,000 for $400,000 home. Of course, anything in the threes moves very quickly in Pine Mountain Club, but 300 sometimes only gets you 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. So it's not conducive to
it's not a lot of
a young
house.
family that really wants to live there full time. So most people that are, moving in there full time are finding something in the fours. Most people that are looking in the threes either want something small to vacation and come back, come once in a while, or they're okay with just having something small. And in that case, I mean, the price point is still a little bit high. So the interest rates, right? So this is just kind of where we're at this week. It should not scare a seller from having a conversation and exploring their options. We're selling a lot of homes, but we're also being very realistic with our sellers and reminding them that we got to pivot with this market, every 30, 60, days, we got to pivot with it and figure out where the new benchmarks are, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I explain it to my sellers. When I show them comps, I say, it's not, I know sometimes someone comes into a consultation saying, Karen, my house is worth $550 and I want $550 and that's what I want for my house. But I come in and I have to sometimes be the bearer of bad news and say, there's not a lot of comps that support that number. So it's not that I want to sell your house for anything lower. I mean, I want to sell it for $1 million if I could. But the truth is we got to look back at
there's indicators.
Correct.
Price
The indicators are what properties have closed in the last, 30 to 90 days, 6 months, and kind of go back, kind of work backwards and figure out where does your property line up with that, right? So, yeah.
Well, the reason I think this is big is because this is the busiest time of the year. So if it's buyer's edge right now in the summer, going into fall and winter, it's going to get worse. That's my projection. That's what I'm predicting.
Well, it does slow down.
Yeah.
I mean, once fall comes and once winter, it does slow down. We still are very consistent producers in those months as well here. However, it does slow down. It's just common.
That's what I'm saying. If it's
because people
buyer's
go,
edge, in that time, I think it's going to trickle down even more because there's going to be fewer buyers.
Yeah, I mean, summertime, it's always really popular because a lot of people are here. But then once people start going back to school, back to work, that kind of mindset, it just, the window of opportunity and it's a little bit more limited.
There's more.
And then once winter comes too, people are focused on the holidays. People are focused on not wanting to come during winter months. The roads are closed. Sometimes sellers don't want to even put their properties on the market because of liabilities of people falling or who knows, just, taking care of it during winter. So right now the market, is at a 28, slight buyer's advantage. And what that means is that if it continues to trend lower, that would essentially mean that we have less sales and more inventory, right?
Yeah, which means we're in a buyer's market. That's what that means, essentially. So I would say if you're in the market right now, if you're a buyer, then this is kind of the ideal time to start shopping up there. Sellers, I mean, the best time to sell is when you need to sell, really. That's what it comes down to. But obviously, if the buyer has the advantage right now, you just need to go into it with the mindset that, hey, if we're completely off base on price, this summer this is the summer of W's. So our MLS is filled with W's. W just means withdrawn within the multiple listing service. And you're just seeing all these people that had these aspirational prices in the clouds, right? And they're just like one after another dropping like flies. W, withdrawn, withdrawn, withdrawn. Withdrawn just means they took it off the market. And they
Right.
probably did that because they got frustrated because they were promised a number and that number wasn't met. Or even the
Yeah.
offers that came in
There's-
were super low and they probably didn't want to take it. So we're in the summer of W's, and I think I thought the reality check was going to happen sooner. It feels like it hasn't even happened now. But the people, there's still a lot of stuff selling, but it's people that are kind of like, they're within 15 to 20% of what the market's indicating it's going to sell for. Those are the people that are selling right now. And you have a handful of these houses that have just been sitting for almost a year, if not a year, more than a year. They're just sitting there. They're kind of, I would say they're poisoning the well. They're skewing our numbers a little bit. But you've seen it, like houses that are priced well, nice, they're fixed up, cleaned up. They sell like hotcakes still. They sell really fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a property's been sitting there for months and months and months and it's just not moving, it's for a reason,
Yeah.
right? And we do have some properties in the market. Of course, I'm not sure what the strategy of some of those agents is, if they have one at all, but they have a certain price and they just kind of sit and sit and sit.
Dig
And
their
then
heels in.
eventually either the listing expires, which means the listing agreement is voided between them and the seller, or the seller decides to withdraw it because they no longer want to have the showings, or they no longer want to deal with what that means for them.
Right.
And so again, we're not trying to be bearers of bad news. We're just trying to help you understand just where things are at. As a buyer, a lot of the buyers right now are definitely have a slight advantage, because if the property is priced well and there are multiple offers, or at least one or two other offers, and it's going to get a little competitive, and that's just kind of the nature of it.
Oh, yeah.
I know this week we had one offer accepted, but there was another offer on the table, and my clients really had to count the costs. Do we come in lower? Do we come in at a strong number that's going to really make the seller say, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to take this offer, right? Because we really love the house and it's in a good market value. It's not over. It's not. And that's exactly what happened. We came in very strong and the seller said, absolutely, I'm not going to entertain this other offer and I'm going to just move forward with this very serious buyer. So I think as a buyer, you know, it doesn't mean just because you have a slight advantage, it doesn't mean I'm just going to come and offer $50,000 less than their price. But it just means look at the comps, have a good analysis of the market, make sure you have good agent that supports you through the negotiations, and really understand, like, am I going to be devastated if this property goes under contract tomorrow and I miss it because I want to save $5,000? I know $5,000 is a lot. I understand that. But at the same time, if a property is at market value means that there's enough sales in the last 6 months that support the price that they're asking, right? If there's enough benchmark sales that, this house could be compared to, then absolutely move forward with it, right? You don't want to lose it. But if there's not enough sales, or if it's on the high end of the market value, then you could probably put a case together, have your agent help you put a case together with comps, submit a good offer still, right? Don't play games and make it happen, right? We're closers. We make deals happen. There's a lot of people up, everywhere, just not just here, but everywhere, that take on listings and they don't close them. Or a lot of buyers who are just putting offers that just don't make sense and lose homes because of that. So you just really have to have the information and make sure. At the end of the day, I always tell my buyers, like, it's your decision. This is your offering price, but this is what I would recommend, or this is the range that I recommend, or this is a number that I recommend. It's not always so cookie cutter because, it's, and you got to think about too, if you have a house that has the great view, has the space, comes furnished, like, you're not going to get this trifecta like always, like every house appears so unique. So I think you just kind of have to think about that as a buyer, right? So buyer, tune in. But as a seller, you got to understand and pivot with the market and say, what are these benchmark sales and where does my property land with that, right? So that's what I would recommend sellers. Let's work together. Let's set up a consultation, figure out where your property lands. And if there's 2 or 3 or 4 properties that have all closed anywhere in the 500s to the 525 that are very unique to your property, then your property probably, if it's in the same condition, falls within that number. If you're like, Karen, I want 550 or 600, then we probably are having a conversation too early. And I'm going to probably tell you, let's hold off, because I can't be in a situation where I am put, where we're marketing this property, it's sitting on the market, and then the seller's disappointed, right? So sellers also have to be aware of what's happening with the market and where things are.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I'm because I handle marketing for the team, and I'm being super picky with who I'm like. When you ask me like, should we take this? Should we not take this? I'm always like, are they working with us? Is there collaboration, or do we have a game plan if they want to start that high? And if they're like off the map, sometimes I'm just like, don't even bother. Like it's just not worth it, because I know it's not going to sell. Like as good as I am at what I do,
as good as we are, and we do great marketing. We do the best marketing.
But it's not even best. It's just I know how to use the tools well, and if I know, based off of my ability to use the tools that are out there to get reach for the house, if I'm like, dude, I can get 100 people to look at this, get into the door. The first thing you're going to say is like, are they flexible in price? Yeah.
And that's another thing too. I've talked to a couple of my sellers on, and I've had to have conversations with them and say, we're getting a lot of movement, or give me time to really just see how this lands with the buyers, because sometimes we really just have to give it a little bit of time. But sometimes as time passes by, that is the response.
Yeah.
If there's no offer, the response is it's too high.
Yeah. Are they
or
flexible?
The response is something's not working with that house, right? So you just have to pivot, and you have to give the property time also to have that reset in that new facelift.
For sure. I like that.
So again, you got to remember, Pine Mountain Club, still a great market for buyers and for sellers. I'm going to go over this real quick because I think it was hopefully it wasn't a little too confusing. Medium list price in Pine Mountain Club right now is $425,000. And the medium price of new listings this week is $550,000.
So they're higher than the average.
So that means that there's been more properties listed,
more expensive houses,
and that is true. I've seen bigger, more expensive houses go on market. The per square foot average right now in Pine Mountain is $258.
Cool. Which I find that a weird metric up there, because they're not comparable.
You gotta take these numbers with a grain of salt, right? Because we can't just average everything out. But we're trying to give you guys a consolidated market analysis, little update so that you can kind of understand where we're at. Average days on market is 105, which is actually in par with the 95 that we've been seeing on the market.
Trending a little higher, but still floating around the same.
Yeah, price have decreased 47%, and prices increased about 5%, which is kind of a little unique, right? Because we're seeing prices decrease. So that means that there's a lot of properties that came in really, really high. They've done a lot of price reductions. But why is there subsequential price increase? That means that the property sold.
It's still selling more than it did last year.
Yeah, the properties, have increased as well. So there is 11% relist. That means that there's sellers that are not happy with their current agent, have decided not to work with them.
How many? 11%?
11%.
11%? Whoa.
Yeah, just, an 11%.
That's high.
And that's just what we're seeing right now.
Cool.
And medium rent in Pine Mountain Club is $1,600. I know that there are people looking to rent up here, and I think that is important. Inventory is about 38. I don't know how accurate that is. There's about 50 properties on the market right now. There's a little bit under 10 currently active or pending close of escrow. And in the last month, I think we had anywhere between, just this last week, we had a couple. So in the last month, maybe anywhere between 4 to 6 properties closed. But again, you got to remember there's a slight buyer's advantage, but it doesn't mean that it's not a good time to sell. You just have to be really wise about the agency that you choose to work with, the agents that represent your asset. And ultimately, I think the marketing and also presentation of your home is just crucial when taken to market.
Yeah, that's good. So this was a good update. The buyers are putting a smack down on the sellers a little bit. They're rearing up. They're making a rally towards the middle of the year.
I think ultimately is also these outward factors like the interest rate still staying where it's at, and then buyers also saying I'm only willing to pay market value prices.
That's the thing, and there's fewer of them too. There's not as many buyers as there was last year. But no, that's good. And I feel like it's a good metric. We'll see how the fall is going to kind of pan out in the next few months. But as for the summer, that's how things have been playing. We have a slight buyer's edge in the market, and stuff's still closing. There's still houses selling. And it all falls back on good strategy for buyers and sellers. Like knowing where to come in with your price and then knowing where to list your house price-wise. If you can find a magical place, then those two parties are going to be happy because they're going to get their payout and the buyer's going to get their house. So it's all game. At the end of the day, real estate's just a big game, and we're trying to play it the best we can.
Yes.
But good market update. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and you'll catch us again next week. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Closings and Cuddles. Bye.
Bye.